All right, grab a mug of coffee and let's have a little chat. Ooh, that's good. Is anyone else exhausted from the news beat the last week? I mean, the first week of MMA 2023, absolutely terrible. I know everyone's given their thoughts on Dana White. I know the world doesn't necessarily need my voice to speak into this, and so I'm not just going to repeat everything else that everyone has said. It has made me really, really sad, of course. I think what has been hardest for me has been seeing the reactions of so many fighters, people in the industry that are doing everything that they can to avoid just saying that was unacceptable. That's it. As easy and simple as it is to say that shouldn't have happened, there are so many people that have said, well, it's because of the alcohol, or, well, she slapped him first, or this or that. I'm like, no, there's no reason for any of it. The violence. And what I just keep thinking is why is Endeavor and UFC, ESPN, all of these people that have oversight over Dana White, that have a huge stake in the UFC, why are they so radio silent about all of this? It's so easy just to come out and say, we acknowledge what has happened, we see it, we're disappointed by it, we're reviewing it to think of, how to respond to it. That is so easy to say, but the fact that they've been silent pretty much just tells me that all they want to do is just wait until the fights start back up, and so they can get some other headlines out there and just sweep it under the rug. And I don't want to do that. And as media, it's really, I feel like we are expected to have responses to everything. And even though I am thousands of miles away from all these situations, don't know Dana White, any of that, I'm expected to, in the media, come out and say something. But that's part of what being in the media is, and part of what comes with having a big audience. I know I don't have the biggest audience, especially here on YouTube, but even on my Instagram, my account's big, but it's not enormous. Whoever is listening, what I think of is just how upsetting it is for people who have a history of abuse, who have some sort of trauma related to men abusing women, and in the one sense is really necessary for us to be able to shed a light on it, to not hide it. But at the same time, I think the way that we do that is really hurtful. And as we talk about issues like these, the first people that we need to acknowledge and consider in the way that we talk are people that have been affected by abuse or been affected by dominant male figures who has made them feel like second-class, inferior people. And if you're a woman watching this, I am really sorry if that has brought up those thoughts and feelings. I have family members, relatives, people close in my life that is their story, is the domination of men over them because they're a woman, and I hate that, and there's no place for that, and I'm really sorry if the way that people have talked about this has been frustrating or hurtful. And I don't feel like the value and worth of women or their role in society is something that should be debated publicly as if it's a court case and we're trying to decide how valuable you are. And I don't want any part of that. And I want to say to everyone that has opinions that women need to stay within a certain lane or fit a certain role, I'm not the one that's going to be able to convince you of those ideas. I used to have ideas like that in my life, and I had to work through those in my own way. But I would ask, don't air those. Now is not the time to air those thoughts. When a story of abuse comes out and you respond by saying, well, women should be grateful that a man provides for them, or women need to stay in their role, that's an opinion that I've seen put out there by a lot of prominent fighters, and by many more that they associate themselves with people who are champions of those ideas. And now is so not the time to air that. Really, no time is good for that. Like, you should keep those opinions to yourself. That is extremely hurtful, inconsiderate, and inhumane to bring up those ideas. And like I said, I grew up in a culture where I was surrounded by people who held those ideas. They would say it wasn't anything malicious. They would say that they treated women well and saw them as equals, but their actions spoke differently. And I come from that, and so I understand that line of thinking and where that comes from. And there's another way, and like Luke Thomas has said really well in his video with Morning Combat this past week, life is just so much better when you don't see women as someone to be controlled that needs to stay in their place and remember their role and be grateful for men for providing. None of that. And so I'll say it as well. There is no time that a man should lay hands on a woman. There's no good excuse, not even alcohol. People like Stephen A. Smith coming out here saying this is a cautionary tale about what alcohol can do. Okay, but lots of people drink alcohol and get wasted and, under the influence of alcohol every single day. Most of us are not hitting our spouses. What alcohol does to you is it lowers your guard. It lowers your inhibitions. So whatever is already inside of you, that's going to come out a lot more readily under the influence of alcohol. And so alcohol is not a free pass. Should Dana's wife have slapped him? Absolutely not. Should Dana have slapped back? Never. No, that was weak. That was cowardly. That was an act of insecurity, and he should not have done it. People are saying, well, but what about her? She was the first to slap. Dana's wife is not the leader of the UFC. She is not under the same scrutiny and does not have the same level of leadership that Dana White has. So I think it's totally fair for the attention to be on Dana White. It's out of all the responses to the incident that have come out, honestly, one of the best responses by people in power has been from Dana White, right? He came out there immediately and acknowledged it. He apologized. His apology at least felt sincere to me, and he didn't make excuses for it. He didn't just say, well, it's because of the alcohol that we did this. But I'm not saying his response was perfect, but I do appreciate that he has not been one to be silent about it. And I hope that they're able to work through this and find healing and figure out how can we not let this happen again. When I think of the potential of MMA, I see MMA as an instrument that can actually empower women. And that's one of the reasons why I love MMA and why I have been so excited about promotions like Invicta and have made covering them in the media one of my focuses, even though it has practically nothing to do with the Asian MMA thing. But yeah, when I think about MMA, what MMA can be, what MMA represents, it represents a lot of garbage, a lot of stuff that I hate, and sometimes I just have to put my phone down and go outside for a walk and get away from Twitter because I hate it. I hate the misogyny. It's everywhere. It is literally everywhere. But I have so much hope for MMA that it can be a place that champions women. It's the only sport where women and men compete on the same platform, hopefully for the same pay. It's not quite there yet. There's a lot of work to be done, but at its best, MMA is an incredible place for women to be themselves and get to showcase what they're all about and make their dreams happen. That's my hope, and that's what I'm going to strive for in what I put out there. I am sad for Dana White, but I also know I can't be the one to say this is what the punishment should be. I don't think that he should leave the UFC, but there needs to be a punishment, some kind of suspension, something. I don't know what it is. That's not up for me to decide, but there needs to be something just to show we care. And no, pushing back the power slap competition a week is not a punishment. That's sweeping it under the rug. That's saying let's just, hold off on this for a week, let things blow over, and then we'll get back into it. No, like, there needs to be something pretty critical to happen with Power Slap, and having Dana White's name attached to that is really nasty. I know we all have our own opinions on this. We all come from somewhere, we all have our own baggage, and I wish that we could talk about this in a humane way that dignifies each other and builds each other up. I know that's not always possible, but I hope that we can do better. We can do better.